Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Let's wait for a minute, Prabhu. I think devotees may be joining. We started the streaming, Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
3 devotees with me. Prasadeshwar Krishna Prabhu, Mariappan Prabhu, and Shyam Sundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
All of them are waiting to hear from you, Prabhu.
Please pray for me. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji, we'll start. Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very grateful and glad to have the association of His Grace Sri Bhagavat Prabhu, who will be sharing the nectar from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 5, chapter number 25, sloka number 6 and 7. The chapter titled Glories of Lord Anantadev. Prabhuji, over to you, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. We'll start, Prabhuji. First of all, I would like to seek the blessings of all the Assembly Vaishnavas for the points that I'm going to share so that they are in line with the Guru Parampara. We'll start with prayers and I'll share whatever I've heard and read from Srila Prabhupada books and other Vaishnavas. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Once again, welcome everyone to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Thank you, devotees, especially to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya team for giving me an opportunity to study and share whatever I have learned on these 2 verses. So I'll be sharing the verses. As Prabhuji mentioned, we'll be discussing from 5th canto, 25th chapter, verses 6 and 7. So the verses are in a different meter. I'll try my best to read it in the proper format. Please forgive me if there are any mistakes made. Sayeva Bhagavan Ananto Ananta Gunarnava Adideva Upasamhritam Marsharosha Vigo Lokanam Swastayaste Sayeva Bhagavan Ananto Ananta Gunarnava Adideva Upasamhritam Vrisharosha Vego Lokanam Swastya Aste Sayeva Bhagavan Ananto Ananta Gunarnava Adideva Upasamhritam Vrisharosha Vego Lokanam Swastyaste. So these Sukadev Goswami is talking about these qualities of Lord Anantadev. So we'll read the translation, word to word meaning, translation and purport, and we'll go to the seventh sloka, and then we'll discuss about this. That eva, certainly, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Anantaha, Anantadev, Ananta Gunar Navaha, the reservoir of unlimited transcendental qualities. Adi Devaha, the original Lord or non-different from the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Upasamhrita, who has restrained. Amarsha, of his intolerance. Rosha and Vrat. Vegaha, the force. Lokanam, of all people on all planets. Swastaye, for the welfare. Aste, remains. Lord Sankarshna is the ocean of unlimited spiritual qualities, and thus he is known as Anantadeva. He is non different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the welfare of all living entities within this material world. He resides in his abode, restraining his anger and intolerance. Sorry. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anantadeva's main mission is to dissolve this material creation, but he checks his anger and intolerance. This material world is created to give the conditioned souls another chance to go back home, back to Godhead. But most of them do not take advantage of this facility. After the creation, they again exercise their old propensity for lording it over the material world. These activities of the conditioned souls anger Anantadeva, and he desires to destroy the material world. Yet, because he is the supreme personality of Godhead, he is kind towards us and checks his anger and intolerance. Only at certain times does he express his anger and destroy the material world. So we'll discuss verse number 7. Again, a little different meter. I'll try my best, and any mistakes, please forgive me. Dhyayamanaha surasuro raga siddha gandharva vidyadhara muniganair anavृत मदमुदित विकृत विफल लोचन सुललित मुखारी अमृतेनाप्ययायमानः स्वपार्षद विबुध यूथ पतिन अपरिम्लान राग नव तुलसी कामोद मध्व आसवेन माद्यन मधुकर व्रत प्रात मधुर गीत श्रियम वैजयंतीं स्वाम वनमालं नील वास एक कुंडलो हलक कुदी कृत सुभग सुंदर भुजो भगवान महेंद्रो वारणेन्द्र इव कांचनीं कक्षाम उदरलीलो बिभर्ति. So we'll continue with the synonyms here. Dhyayamanaha, being meditated upon. Sura of demigods, Asura demons, Uraga snakes, Siddha inhabitants of Siddhaloka, Gandharva inhabitants of Gandharvaloka, Vidyadhara Vidyadharas, Muni and of great sages, Gunai by groups, Anavrita constantly, Madamudita delighted by intoxication, Vikrita moving to and fro, Vihvala rolling, Lochana whose eyes, Sulalita excellently composed, Mukahari Mukarika Mukarika of speech, Amritena by the nectar, Apyayamanaha pleasing, Swaparshada his own associates, Vibuddha Yutapatin the heads of the different groups of demigods, Aparimlana never faded, Raga whose luster Nava ever fresh, Tulasika of the Tulasi blossoms, Amoda by the fragrance, Madhu Asavena and the honey, Madhyan being intoxicated, Madhukara Brata of the bees, Madhura Gita by the sweet singing, Shriyam which is made more beautiful, Vaijayanti, the garland named Vaijayanti, Swam his own, Vanamalam garland, Neela Vasaha covered with blue garments, Ekakundala wearing only one earring, Halakakudi on the handle of a plow, Krita place Subhaga auspicious, Sundara beautiful, Bhujaha hands, Bhagavan the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maha Indraha the King of Heaven, Varana Indraha the elephant Eva like Kanchaneem golden, Uksham belt, Udara Leelaha engaged in transcendental pastimes, Bibharti wears. Translation. Sukadeva Goswami continued, the demigods, the demons, the Uragas, serpentine demigods, the Siddhas, the Gandharvas, the Vidyadharas, and many highly elevated sages constantly offer prayers to the Lord. Because he is intoxicated, the Lord looks bewildered, and his eyes, appearing like flowers in full bloom, move to and fro. He pleases his personal associates, the heads of the demigods, by the sweet vibrations emanating from his mouth. Dressed in bluish garments and wearing a single earring, he holds a plow on his back with his two beautiful and well constructed hands. Appearing as white as the heavenly king Indra, he wears a golden belt around his waist and a Vaijayanti garland of ever fresh tulsi blossoms around his neck. Bees intoxicated by the honey-like fragrance of the tulsi flowers hum very sweetly around the garland, which thus becomes more and more beautiful. In this way, the Lord enjoys his very magnanimous pastimes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Sardim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we'll continue our discussion from the fifth canto, verses 5 and 6. Previously, devotees would have described the earlier verses. The chapter is titled Glories of Anantadev. So, as we all know, the Lord Anantadev is thousand-headed Lord. In fact, thousands of heads are present and mouths are present. So, it is very difficult to describe his glories. But following the footsteps of Guru Parampara, we'll try to discuss his glories to whatever extent the Lord reveals himself to us. Okay. So, as we have already read in the purport by Srila Prabhupada in the fifth verse, the mission of Lord Anantadev, as mentioned here, is to dissolve this material creation. Main mission, rather, it's mentioned here. So we always see that we hear that Lord Shiva is in charge of this destruction, but here the Bhagavatam clearly explains that who is even the source of Lord Shiva's potency of destructing destroying the material world. So it is Lord Anantadev. So it is mentioned in the summary of this chapter that he instructs Lord Shiva on how to destroy the cosmos. So Lord Shiva is getting his intelligence and his potency from Lord Anantadev. And because he's involved in this activity of or the pastime of destruction, so he is also called as Tamasi. So because the activity of destruction is in the domain of ignorance. Hence, he is called Tamasi, or he is also the original fountainhead of even the ignorance, the mode of ignorance. We also see, like from Bhagavatam, the very first verse of Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaye Adi Kavaye. So, wherein it is mentioned, the Lord also instructs another chief demigod. So we know that the chief demigods, Lord Brahma and Shiva, this is where how the Supreme Lord is even the controller of the demigods. It's mentioned in the Bhagavatam himself, where it is the first verse itself gives us information that Krishna is also giving Lord Brahma the knowledge, and is instructing on how to create. So he's also giving the instructions on how to destroy, as well as, of course, to how to create. So thereby establishing his position. So the Bhagavatam very clearly establishes the supreme personality of Godhead, who the supreme personality of Godhead he is, without any ambiguity. So that's why Mahaprabhu says that this describes Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Purana, because it contains the transcendental narration of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So without any ambiguity. So the history of Bhagavatam is also very glorious. We recently had this Bhagavata Saptah where we learned about the glories of Bhagavatam, and also on the Bhadra Purnima. What we can understand is Bhagavatam clearly gives the complete description of Supreme Lord. If you want to know about the Lord, we have to just read Bhagavatam. It not only it gives the complete description of the Supreme Lord, but establishes both the Bhagavat and Bhagavan aspects. So Bhagavat is basically Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is establishing that, and Bhagavan is the aspect of the Lord which describes the opulences, the six opulences of the Lord. So in complete, and that's why the Samam Bonam is the 10th canto, wherein the Bhagavan and Bhakti aspects are completely described. So hence it's called the Samam Bonam. Samam Bonam. So where else like if we and other places also we hear like when we hear about the glories of Bhagavatam, where else can we get if one wants to hear about the Lord and his interaction with the intimate devotees, one need not find any other book. Bhagavatam is in itself the culmination of all that activities or all that um, effort to find the real knowledge. We see that right here, the complete description of Lord Anantadev is given in terms of his bodily beauty, what type of jewels he's wearing, what is the garments he's wearing, what are the various instruments he's carrying, what are his activities. Likewise, not only this, it also goes to the intimate association, intimate activities of the Lord. So everything one can find in Srimad Bhagavatam. So going further, Lord's beauty and his qualities. We'll discuss a little bit about Lord's beauty and his qualities. So here it is mentioned that Lord Sankarshana is the ocean of unlimited spiritual qualities or the reservoir of unlimited transcendental qualities. Gunarnava, it was mentioned. For the welfare of the living entities within this material world, he is taking this position, which is even below the Patala. The Patala itself is considered the lower planetary system, but he is even below that. Why? To basically to support the material universe. So he's taking that position and also establishing the fact that everything rests on him. Like he says in Bhagavad Gita, like there is no truth superior to him or beyond him. Everything rests on him, like beads are strung on a thread. So he's present there, but he's invisible. So in that way, he's supporting the entire universe. Prabhupada also multiple times he quotes this Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Yeko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. So among all the living entities, he is the chief living entity, and among all the consciousness, he is the chief consciousness, and he alone is providing for everyone both spiritual support as well as material support. Here it is mentioned that the activities of the conditioned soul, anger, Anantadev. What is that activities? It is basically the tendency of the living entities to enjoy the material world. And we'll discuss how Lord Anantadev is the origin or the source of false ego through which the living entities try to enjoy the material world. The root cause of enjoyment is ego or ahankara, false ego, and the ego. Prabhupada established the word ego to highlight the personal aspect, because when we say ego, that means there is a personality. That's why there is an ego associated with that personality, because the ultimate truth of the ultimate realization of a living entity is achieving the personal, serving the personal feature of the Lord. So if there is a personal feature of the Lord, there is a personality of devotees, then actually there is something called ego. To distinguish that from the wrong ego, Prabhupada used the word false ego, which is basically ahankar. So then ahankar, Anantadev, Lord Anantadev is the source of ahankar. So when we have this false ego, which is the root cause of our existence in this material world, we tend to see everything as a source of our enjoyment. Hence, Lord Anantadev also, he is teaching through his activities that the best way to counter a false ego is to take the position of servant, dasya, because he is way and to be serving in a humble mood, not expecting any respect. Like we chant Trinada Pisuniche Nantorori Svavishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So Trinadabi, more being more humble than a blade of a grass and being more tolerant than a tree and expecting no respect and giving respect to others. This is how we can chant. And what Lord Anantadev is doing, he's actually manifesting that example. He's instructing us. We saw that he's instructing Lord Shiva also, and we also discussed how he is instructing Lord Brahma. So through this role of Lord Anantadev, he's instructing the living entities what should be their prime duty. They should be chanting the glories of the Lord in the mood of humble servant. So it's also mentioned that because he's intoxicated, the Lord looks bewildered, in his eyes appearing like flowers in full bloom, move and to and fro. He is also holding a plow on his back with his two beautiful and well constructed hands. So Lord Anantadev is an expansion of Lord Balram. So naturally, the instrument of or other ayuda of Lord Balram is a plow and a club also. But here the club plow is mentioned. We see Lord Balram carries a plow. Though self-sufficient, he himself is the support of everything. He resides beneath the lower planetary systems and easily sustains the entire universe. So we discussed that point as well. So a few more points that we can always lessons that we can take from these two verses that put together we'll discuss is the first verse, the verse number 6, actually is talking about Lord Ananta's form and his service. What is the service? Because as we have all heard, that Balram is none other than Lord Krishna, but he is in the mood of serving the Lord. So he's same Lord Krishna, but expanded so that the Lord can enjoy unlimited transcendental pastimes. So, in order to facilitate those unlimited transcendental pastimes, Lord Balram has taken this avatar and he's arranging for all of that. So, as part of that, we see here also one of the services of the Lord, of to the Lord rather, is to create a place for the material, create a place like the material world for the conditioned souls to actually the main mission is to understand their constitutional position and practice that. But unfortunately the conditional souls misuse that freedom and enjoy. But even that someone has to take as a service to the Lord Anantadev takes that service and he is assisting the Lord Balram and like that to Lord Krishna in this service. So we talked about the service to the Lord, and he's Ananta Dev. He's having unlimited strength. That's why Baladeva, right? He's having strength. Baladev is full of strength. The word Bala means strength. He's having unlimited strength. So here he is also. We know that he has unlimited spiritual strength, but he's also demonstrating his unlimited material strength as well in terms of carrying the weight. But it is mentioned that he is not at all disturbed. So we talked about the Ananta. The meaning of Ananta means unlimited. It also exemplifies or shows how the Lord and the spiritual a world is unlimited in its nature and in its quantity. Going further, we can take two points here for our contemplation. The how the Lord is teaching a devotee to remain undisturbed amidst responsibilities. He's carrying his doing his seva, but he is remaining undisturbed. That is only possible when one is spiritually situated. And how is that spiritual situation? Lord Anantadev, like he's constantly chanting the glories of the Lord, and he's engaged in this service. So we will now in the verse 7, what we can see is here in the verse 6, if we a little bit dive in deeper into the words, more of his form and service is explained. And in the second verse number 7, more is explained about his devotional mood. So, what is that devotional mood? Is one is we discussed already. Is constantly chanting the glories of the Lord, and he's intoxicated. He's blissful in the love of Godhead. So, we can see the word intoxication doesn't mean he's intoxicated in a material sense. He's intoxicated in a spiritual sense, that he's fully blissful in Lord's service and experiencing the love of Godhead by when he's chanting the glories of the Lord. So we'll proceed further. We'll also see where some references from Bhagavatam itself and also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, so that we can understand more about Lord Anantadev, who is, what is his role, and what is he trying to teach us. So, as we discussed, he is the plenary expansion of Lord Balaram, the original spiritual master. So, he's the original deity of material consciousness. Another name for Lord Anantadev is Lord Sankarshna. Why? Because he's attracting. How is he attracting? And so here he's attracting. Initially, it is mentioned that he is attracting through the material false ego, because uh, we have this tendency to enjoy. Whenever we see anything in this material world, we have this tendency to that it is for my enjoyment, and that is coming from false ego. So that's why, and we discussed that false ego, the source of false ego is Lord Anantadev. So he's in that way he's attracting all the living entities. But in his other feature as Lord Balram, he's also attracting the Lord, the conditioned souls towards the service of the Lord. So in that way, he's called Sankarshna. So it is mentioned that in Bhagavatam in third canto by Lord Kapiladev, Sahasra Sirisham Sakshat Yam Anantam Prachakshate Sankarshanakyam Purusham Bhutendriya Manomayam, the threefold Ahankara, the source of the gross elements. So he's a source of gross elements as well. Senses and the mind is identical with them because it is their cause. It is known by the name Sankarshana, who is directly Lord Ananta with 1,000 heads. So here we can see the Lord Sankarshana is another than Lord Ananta. Is another name for Lord Ananta. Kartutvam karanatvam cha karyatvam cheti lakshanam. Shanta ghora vimudhatvam iti vasyat ahankrateha. So this false ego, so we get to understand what is the false ego. The false ego is characterized as a doer. So the false ego is manifested as a doer, because when the doer does some activities, because he is driven by the false ego as an instrument, as an effect. So both as an instrument, as an effect, the false ego is acting on the living entity. So then false ego, further explained in this verse, Lord Ananta is how he is influencing the living entities. It is through this false ego manifested in the three modes. So the false ego can be in the mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, and mode of passion. So all through these three modes, the Lord is influencing the living entities and attracting the living entities towards material creation. So by false ego, it is also mentioned here, by false ego, all material things are produced as objects of enjoyment. So the only way to counteract, or the remedy for this getting rid from the clutches of false ego, is to develop the service mode, wherein one understands himself to be the servitor and not the enjoyer, and the Lord is the only enjoyer. So I've also found, like Narottam Das Thakur talking about this, that when one deviates from pure consciousness of Vasudeva or Krishna consciousness, he becomes entangled in material activities. The exact words Narottam Das Thakur uses are Satsanga Chadi Kainu Asate Vilasa Tekarana Lagila Ye Karma Bandhana Fasa. I have given up the pure state of consciousness because I wanted to enjoy the temporary material manifestation. Therefore, I have been entangled in the network of actions and reactions. So, when one is snared or caught up by the false ego, one automatically is entangled by the network of actions and reactions. So that is almost an effect, like what we are saying. The instrument of the false ego is a doer, and the effect is the net getting caught up in the network of action and reactions. It is interestingly, one purport, Prabhupada mentions that in order to get released from the false ego, one has to worship Sankarshana. So Sankarshana is also worshipped through Lord Shiva. So interesting perspective Prabhupada is sharing here. The snakes which cover the body of Lord Shiva are representation of Sankarsana, and Lord Shiva is always absorbed in meditation upon Sankarsana. So one who is actually a worshipper of Lord Shiva as a devotee of Sankarsana can be released from false ego, material ego. So here we understand one approaches Lord Shiva for material enjoyment, he gets enjoyment. But when he is who is really inquisitive, maybe, or who is pure-hearted, approaches Lord Shiva. In fact, we heard many stories, pastimes, also where Lord Shiva directs the living entity towards the Supreme Lord, because he is himself always meditating on the Lord, and he knows in him being also in charge of the false ego, he's always worshipping the Lord so that he doesn't entangle. So, and when someone pure-hearted soul comes to him, like we discussed, the function of these demigods is to ensure they are directing the living entities on the right path, of salvation. So then Lord Shiva directs the living entity. So we heard that first time also the touchstone where in Vrindavan, where Lord Shiva was meditating. Or rather, the devotee of the Lord Shiva approaches Lord Shiva and asks for a benediction. So he directs them to Rupa Goswami. So when he goes to the Goswami asking for the wealth, he directs them to a touchstone which is found in the garbage. So upon contemplating, the devotee or the worshipper of Lord Shiva thinks, how is that if such a value, if the touchstone is of such value, why is it lying in a garbage? So when he inquires from the Goswami, he mentions that it is in fact he has something much more valuable than the touchstone. So that's how Lord Shiva constantly guides his devotees towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we also see that it's mentioned that the snakes which cover the body of Lord Shiva are representations of none other than Lord Sankarsana. And we also see sometimes Lord Shiva is also called Adi Guru, or the Guru aspect, because he's also taking shelter of Sankarsana, who is none other than the potency of Lord Balaram. So in this way, Lord Shiva is also guiding. We have this Siksha Guru and Patadarsha Guru and Diksha Guru. In some cases, Lord Shiva also takes the aspect of or the position of Diksha Guru, like we have the Rudra Sampradaya, right? So the Lord Shiva is also taking that position in terms of doing service and guiding the living entities, instructing them on the path of spirituality. So these are some aspects that we could delve well deeper into the aspect and activities of Lord Ananta. Likewise, and coming back to our Gaudiya Parampara, we have none other than Lord Nityananda Rai, Lord Nityananda, who is the expansion, or rather, Sankarsana is nothing but the expansion of plenary expansion of Lord Nityananda, as Balram is none other than, or Lord Nityananda and Balram are non-different. So Sankarshana Karanatoya Shai, Garbhodashai Chapayobdhisai, Sheshasya Yasyamsa Kala Sanitya, Nandakya Rama Sharanam Namastu. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita mentioned, may Sri Nityananda Rama be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshna, Seshanaga, and Vishnu, who lie on the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean, and ocean of milk, are his plenary portions and the portions of his plenary portions. So this is what Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila is letting us know. That, and then the other is also Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is also saying, I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Rama, who is known as Sankarshna in the midst of Chaturvyuha, consisting of Vasudeva, Sankarshna, Pradyumna, and Anuruddha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Leka, far beyond the material creation. So in this way, we see that how from starting from Nityananda, Balarama, the Lord is expanding in his various expansions and plenary oceans to guide the conditioned soul. So to conclude this section, wherein we are discussing about Lord Anantadev, so some points for us to like a takeaway points are, we should contemplate on the service attitude Like Anantasesha, we should serve the Lord without pride or without any disturbance. Glorification of the Lord. Make Nama Sankirtana and chanting Kirtana, Shravanam and Kirtanam central aspect of our devotional service, spiritual strength. And we can also see here that real strength comes from surrender and devotion, not material power. It's like so Lord Anantadev is getting his strength from chanting the glories of the Lord. And a lesson for all is, despite his greatness, Anantasesha remains a humble servant and happy, as we as indicated by the word intoxicated. He is intoxicated in his service to the Lord. So service attitude, glorification of the Lord, uh, understanding the source of spiritual strength, and being in a humble devotional service mood is something that we can learn from Lord Anantadev. And we also know that from the pastime of Lord Balram and Brahmaharshan Sutta, how Lord Balram is also instructing the same point, where once during a pilgrimage, Lord Balram visits Naimisha and India, and the sages were hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Brahmaharshan Sutta, who is a disciple of Vyasadeva. So when Lord Balram entered, all the sages stood up in respect except Brahmaharshana. So seeing this behavior, being the original spiritual master and expansion of Anantadev, he could see directly through his heart, his pride. So we can see that the Lord, and especially the Guru, never tolerates pride in the heart of a disciple, because he's carrying flow. The reason he's carrying flow is to make the heart fertile, so that uh, the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotional service, can be sowed, and it can grow into a tree reaching all the way up to Krishna Loka. So when the Lord sees pride in the heart of devotee, he doesn't like to teach a lesson in humility and proper etiquette. We know that Lord Balrama ended Ramahasha's life with a blade of kusha grass put on top of his head. So this is something for us to think and ponder and also contemplate. So it also gives us a glimpse into the mood of Lord Ananta. He just thinks, while serving, he just thinks, I'm not the doer. I'm simply an instrument. That is the mood of Ananta Shesha. So very interesting, and also little contrary. Lord Ananta being the source of false ego, we just discussed earlier that the false ego is characterized by the doer, or is manifested in the doer. And but here, Lord Ananta, being the source of false ego himself, he thinks I'm simply an instrument. He never thinks I'm doing something great or I'm the doer. We can, from these aspects, that's why Bhagavatam, like we briefly discussed when touching on the point of the glories of Bhagavatam, wherein it talks about the Bhagavan and the Bhagavat aspect as also, right? The Bhagavan, we saw the renunciation. One of the six opulences of Bhagavan is renunciation. Other opulences we have seen, like the Aishwarya, knowledge, and many times we see the renunciation also is subtly shown here, wherein the Lord, being so powerful and possessor of all appearances, is still fully renouncing, or renouncing rather, sorry, all that appearances, and being in a very nicely situated in a humble mode. And even philosophically, so this is more the devotional aspect. Philosophically also, if we see, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, I'm in everything, but I'm still aloof. So this is how we can understand the philosophical aspect also, how the Lord is expressing through his actions. And one more point also, what we can consider is here is the Lord of devotional. We have always have many times we heard from Prabhupada, and from the various devotees, that Prabhupada never translated bhakti as just devotion, right? It's a devotional service. So here also we see that the Lord Himself is exemplifying that he's experiencing devotion, he's experiencing the symptoms of ecstasy, but he is not just in more of a inaction. He's acting. The bhakti is the devotional sentiment is experienced in action, not just by meditation, or simply by it is also there, but it is fully experienced when it is in detailed in action. So that point also is very nicely emphasized for us to contemplate upon. So next, what I would like to discuss a little bit is this intoxication, because I, I, because when we first hear intoxication, the thought comes, oh, why is the Lord intoxicated? And especially when we hear Lord Balrama's pastimes, we see he drinks Varuni. His favorite drink is Varuni. He is intoxicated. Oh, generally intoxication, especially for sadhakas, we is one of the four regulative principles. So how to understand this intoxication? It's mentioned specifically that because he's intoxicated, the Lord looks bewildered. So first of all, this word bewildered, before reading Prabhupada books, I never heard it. So I was bewildered by reading the word bewildered. What is this bewildered? Looks so complex, but as the word indicates, it's confusing. Bewildered means confusing. So it's quite contrary to associate these words with the Lord, intoxicated and confusing. So let's a little bit discuss or read about this from Bhagavatam. We already touched upon this point that the Lord is intoxicated by his devotion. He's experiencing the devotional love towards the Lord. That's why he's intoxicated. And confusing means because in that intoxication, he's totally confused. In that sense, he's confused. But when we look at what does it mean for us, and we can definitely take shelter of Kunti Maharani's verse, wherein she talks about this verse, Janmaishvidya Shruta Shribhir Edamana Madha Puman Naivatma Naivarhati Abhidhatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. So this madha means intoxic. Prabhupada uses the word there, intoxication. So one is intoxicated. Edamana, how are the conditioned souls are intoxicated? And Kunti Maharani is saying, my lord, your lordship can easily be approached. Actually, there's nothing obstruction to see the Lord or to have exchanges, devotional exchanges with the Lord. Because many ask, where is Lord? Actually, the great devotee says, Lord is very easily approachable, but but he is only approachable by those who are materially exhausted. So if what does that mean, materially exhausted? One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with the respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincerity. So this here, Kunti Maharani is giving us the hint. How is Lord getting intoxicated? Because the Lord is not materially exhausted, but he is spiritually full. But unless one is materially exhausted, we cannot be attracted towards the Lord. In fact, in our case, we are materially intoxicated, we are materially full. So, in the purport, Prabhupada is giving very important points and instructions. So, we'll go deep into that purport and discuss certain points for our contemplation. So, being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth, an education, and attractive personal beauty. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. And this is what also angers the Lord. Also, that's what we also read in today's purport, right? But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary positions. So herein we can see how the Lord is. We can make the comparison. The Lord is undisturbed, even he's in midst of so much of opulences, so much of service. He's still undisturbed, but he is intoxicated in a good way. But the conditioned souls are intoxicated by simply such temporary positions and are mad after getting these um, positions. And what happens when one is mad after these? One is not able to utter properly the holy name of the Lord. So it is said that in the Shastras that once even even a jiva, once if they utter the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of the quantity of sins that he is unable to commit. So such is the power of uttering. But that is not possible. Prabhupada is saying it's not an exaggeration of the holy name. That is the potency of the holy name. Whereas, but a materially puffed up person, he may even chant the holy name of the Lord, but he's unable to get the same results. So that's why these four principles of advancement, like high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, are disqualifications for progressing on the path of spiritual advancement. And Prabhupada mentions that sometimes it is seen that a spiritually advanced person becomes materially impoverished. This is no discouragement. So Prabhupada is saying that sometimes even if someone is materially impoverished, uh, or one is made to lose materially, this is no sign of to be discouraged. On other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign as much as the falling of the temperature is a good sign. So the principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to be more and more illusioned about the aim of life. So here, the jwara, the material jwara, the bhavarog, we say, right? So Prabhupada is relating this to the intoxication as a symptom of bhavarog. So when we have a fever, we have a rise in temperature. So that indicates that we have fever. And when the temperature is coming down, it is not something to be feared upon or scared upon. It is in fact a good sign, because that means the fever is coming down. Similarly, when one is going through impoverishments, or one is subjected to some material difficulties, it is a sign that the fever of Bhavarog is coming down. The Lord is somehow making the devotee go through that, so that he is purified, and is a result of his purification, he's being put in those situations. So that is how Prabhupada is asking us to look at the reversals in our life and focus more on the goal of life, and not to be illusioned by the material intoxication. So this is something we can talk about, the material intoxication. And then a spiritual intoxication we have already discussed. So Lord's intoxication is due to the bhakti rasa, the ecstatic love and bliss of constantly glorifying and serving the Supreme Lord. And we discussed the differences between spiritual intoxication and material intoxication. And also in NOD, Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami says how devotees become intoxicated by hearing and chanting the Lord's name and pastime. Lord Ananta, with thousands of mouths, is constantly engaged in Kirtan, and this divine engagement causes his ecstatic symptoms. So, from NOD also, Rupa Goswami is giving us how the Lord is blissfully in intoxication. And also from the Gopi Geet, we see that तव तप्त जीवनम कविभिरीदितं कल्मसापहम श्रवण मंगलम श्रीमदाततम भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. The nectar of your words and the description of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. So these narrations transmitted by learned sages eradicate one's sinful reaction and bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them. So these narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. So who is broadcasting this all over the world? The spiritual masters who are coming from, who are representations of Lord Balram and Lord Anantadev. So they are Bhuridharjana. So they are releasing, and they are also helping others release this intoxication. So, and we also know, in fact, when we are talking about intoxication, and we have also mentioned about the eyes of the Lord in the purport, how can we not talk about Lord Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra, who are demonstrating that the glorification and the pastimes of the Lord is so sweet and enjoyable. The Lord is eager to hear. We know that pastime where when in once Rohini Devi is narrating the pastimes, childhood pastimes of Krishna, Balram to the queens of Dwaraka. Then, as these pastimes were being narrated, Krishna, Balram, and Subhadra happened to also hear on them, and in divine ecstasy, their eyes become huge and their arms rolled into their body. So that's how we can see how the Lord is also eager and relishing the pastimes. As Prabhupada mentioned, when we are materially intoxicated, we are unfortunately unable to relish these pastimes of the Lord. We'll just quickly conclude with a few more points. I think we talked about the Lord's beauty also, so we'll conclude with Lord's beauty, and we'll conclude the discussion. So the Lord's beauty is different. The Lord's beauty is transcendental and incomparable, and the Lord's beauty, as mentioned here, is enhances everything. In fact, here also it's mentioned the Lord is wearing this garment, this ornament. He's wearing this. Actually, more than our acharyas explain, more than these the paraphernalia enhancing the beauty of the Lord, the Lord is enhancing the beauty of this paraphernalia. So that's how one sees the Lord's beauty. And elsewhere, in also in 10th canto, it is explained, and the Lord is walking through the forests of the Vrindavan. The various forest trees, forest animals become enchanted by the Lord's beauty, and in fact, he is beautifying the whole Vrindavan atmosphere. So that's the quality and the transcendental aspect of Lord's beauty. So that we can, it's important for us to also uh, discuss that when we touched upon the Lord's beauty. And one other aspect of Lord's beauty, especially when we relate it to Lord Ananta's qualities, is it's Ananta, it's ever increasing. Lord's beauty and spiritual ecstasy is ever increasing. There is no limit or diminishing aspect to it. It's always ever increasing. As as the name Ananta suggests, it's unlimited and ever increasing. Okay. Unfortunately, we'll not yeah, we'll discuss this point also, because Prabhupada always comments on this, and will relate how it is important to Guru Tattva. Unfortunately, when so much of description about Lord Bhagavan, Bhagavat, Bhakti aspect is talked about in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam means it's all about the Lord. Mayavadis cannot understand, because they are not hearing from the right source. They are not hearing from the right parampara. Because when we hear from a conditioned soul, the conditioned soul, we heard many times, is having four defects. So any knowledge heard from the conditioned soul is subject to these defects, and hence the knowledge received and also the receiver is also subjected to these defects, and hence the Mayavadis cannot accept the beauty and the personal aspect, the Bhagavat aspect of the Lord, in spite of so much detailed description given. In fact, for us to read itself, it took time. It was so difficult also for us to read the word-to-word translation. So it's difficult in the sense that there's so much for us to read. It's still unending. So that's why the Guru Tattva is important, and hearing from the Guru Parampara. The Guru is the one who gives us the Sambandha and Abhideya knowledge. He establishes the relationship. He attracts us towards the Lord, and he first gives us the relationship, and then gives us the instructions to help develop our attraction towards the Lord. So these are some of the points, and something that I discussed. And so finally, what we should takeaways: chanting the glories of the Lord, humble service attitude, how to remain undisturbed even when spiritually, even amidst spiritual responsibilities. Is when we are completely spiritual and fully spiritually situated, it's only possible. We discussed about that point, and we also talked about real strength comes from surrender and devotion, and not from material power. And in conclusion, Prabhupada mentions in one point, just like how Guru gives us instructions, who is Srila Prabhupada, who is a founder Acharya and Supreme Shiksha Guru for all of us. He's saying that the path of spiritual realization is just like the sharp edge of a razor. Yeah, the Guru we get by the mercy of the devotees and Guru, the Samandha Jnana. But on the process, once the Samandha Jnana is over, we know our relationship with the Lord, we know who we are. The Abhideya process seems to be long and never ending, and so much of ups and downs. That's because he's saying this path is this process is like the sharp edge of a razor. So when we shave, for example, our cheeks with a sharp razor, this is an example given by Prabhupada, it is very nice. It does a good job. But as soon as some slight attention is deviated or diverted from this activity, one immediately cuts his cheek because he mishandles the razor. So not only one must come to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness, one must also be very careful and alert. So our aspect is the point here is devotion with attention. Any attentiveness or sorry, any inattentiveness or carelessness in the path of spiritual practice will cause to fall down. So this is another aspect for us to remember and contemplate. So with this, I'll conclude. Sorry for my many faults in narrating the Lord's pastimes, or if I have mistakenly misquoted or done anything, please excuse me. Now I'll open the forum for discussion and any comments or any questions. Once again, thank you all for patiently listening and giving the opportunity to discuss on these verses. Hare.
Hare Krishna Sri Bhagavat Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for very nicely narrating the conditioned souls who are in the eternally in the Bhava Roga, whereas Lord is in the Bhava Roga. So, and also you explained the learnings for us as a sadhaka devotee. Thank you, Prabhu. I would request the devotees to share the comments or reflections or questions, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. Thanks for the wonderful class, Prabhu. I have 2 points, Prabhu. One, when you said I got bewildered by the word bewilderment, I also remembered I had to keep one dictionary next to me while reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, Prabhu. His English is so high. And second, Prabhu, when you said any inattentiveness, does it mean aparadas like that, Prabhu? It can cause problem. Fall down,
Yes,
Prabhu.
yes. Inattentiveness means many ways. It can mean apradas. It can mean lack of attention to details. It can mean carelessness, disregard, like not really caring. So many aspects are mentioned what it means inattentiveness. So any of these, like we also chant in the morning, right? Inattentive chanting is also an offense. Yeah, being too casual, that's also, thank you, Sankarshan Priya Prabhu. So casual attitude towards our services. So all of these reflect who, who we are and how serious we are in our devotional practice, and also reflects our spiritual quotient, like how we have intelligent quotient, emotion quotient, like that spiritual quotient. If there is something like that, reflects that. So a pure devotee, that's why he's an advanced devotee, because his absorption is such that there is no chance of this carelessness or casualness or offenses or any of these what we just now discussed.
Wonderful, Prabhu. And such nice analogy also. It's eye-opening. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mati.
Prabhu, yesterday I was asking this question: what is Sankarshana? We know what is Sankarshana. Madhava Sharma Prabhu was telling day before yesterday. Okay. Sankarshana. Can you just explain, Prabhu, what it is?
Sankarshana, I'm not sure, Mataji. Sankarshana, we know Vasudeva is there. I'm really not sure about the word Sankarshana. Sankarshana is what, like in all the points that I've discussed, like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I see it is like, for example, maybe I'll just quickly look into Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Adi Leela or Chaturvyuha. Let me just see if Chaturvyuha. Just give me a moment, Madhya. I'm trying to, yeah, I found this. So here also, like, there is verse I found. Many verses are there in Adi Leela. I don't see the English transliteration. There is a line added to it is Sankarshana, Sankarshana. So I don't. Sorry, Mataji, I may not be able to answer. Maybe some other devotees have any idea. I know Vasudeva. So in this Vasudeva is mentioned Vasudeva, who is Krishna, who is the son of Vasudeva. like that. I know, I have heard, but not about Sankarshana Mataji. Like even if you do a search in the Veda base, whenever you see the word Sankarshana, at least to my understanding, I have not seen the word with that extra horizontal line on top of the letter A.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Done.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Any other question from any other devotee? Okay, one more. I would like to remind, next Friday, we have a special visitor to our temple, His Grace Pavaneshwar Prabhu, who is considered to be expert in the Bhagavata cosmology. And throughout this chapter, across this canto, in many chapters, there were descriptions, narrations about the cosmology. And Prabhuji would be actually giving a seminar on this topic of Bhagavad cosmology on next Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday. So temple management has sent a schedule and details about this seminar. I would request all the devotees to register if you are not yet registered and take advantage of Prabhuji's association. If there are no questions, Prabhu, we can end today's session. And thank you very much, Prabhu, for
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the opportunity.
Giving the nectar. We'll end today's session with the Vaishnava Pranam, Prabhuji.
वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो
मंत्रा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल.
Thank you.
Thank you, devotees. Dandavat Pranam. I'll end the session. Thanks.